it's Jeff Chalmers here from discoverdouble-bass.com, which is the home of online learning for bass players. Whether you're new to the double bass, whether you're an experienced player, jazz, classical, bluegrass, and even funk, we have you covered. So go and check out our website once you've seen this video. And I'm thrilled today to welcome a brand new tutor to the site. Somebody who's playing, I've been following for years. I'm sure you have as well. If you're a fan of jazz bass, and particularly maybe if you're a fan of the groove side of things, you will have come across his playing before. And he is joining me to discuss the differences between electric upright basses and a regular upright bass. So it gives me great pleasure to welcome to Discover Double Bass, Chris Minh Doky. Chris, thank you so much for joining me.
Thanks for having me. It's a great pleasure.
Well, it's just been so much fun to spend time with you this week exploring the funkier side of the upright bass. And you've been filming lessons on bass lines and soloing and all the kind of fills and the cool stuff that you come up with. And you know, you're really known as a player who is a virtuoso on these instruments and an electric player, bass guitar player as well. But maybe we could start off by exploring the different sound, because I think that's what people really want to hear.
Yeah.
So, I mean, like you're getting funky on a Fly-Auray bass. This is a pretty nice instrument, and you're giving it the funk, and it's working for you.
Absolutely. I've been doing it for years. I mean, obviously I've played and still play a lot of straight ahead and classical stuff, but I love getting funky on the upright bass.
You just stepped off a tour. Who were you playing with this summer?
I was just out with Mike Stern Band.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Like a, jazz stalwart, New York kind of heavy hitter who's been on the scene for a long time, playing with some great bass players. And did you tour with this bass or with this bass?
With Mike Stern, I toured with that bass and my electric bass guitar also, yeah.
Cool. Well, maybe you could, start things off. Could we compare the sound of
Absolutely,
these two things? Because I love the sound of this bass.
Oh, absolutely,
Actually, I tell you what, you play and then we'll talk. Let's
All right.
go for it. Bit of the up high stuff. You always play so beautifully. Classic sounds, like really beautiful sounds. And let's go straight into the electric upright bass. If you lay that down, I'm going to pass this beauty over to you. Look at this beautiful instrument. Do you think we could hear a version of the same thing on your...
Yeah, that makes sense.
Wow, so cool to hear them both together. And if you're watching this at home, let us know in the comments which you prefer. Were we on team upright or team electric upright? Regular bass, electric upright bass. I don't know. Which one do you prefer, Chris? That's a loaded question, isn't it, to get you started?
Well, I'm not sure it's that loaded a question. I mean, there's no doubt the acoustic bass is the acoustic bass.
Yeah.
It's got all the glory, it's created, and it sounds from the acoustic ambience of the instrument. And nothing can replace that. But when you're on stage live playing with other musicians, in order to get the sound from the bass, you have to get a microphone in front of it. And of course, every bass player also have a pickup to have a backup. But if you're not using the microphone, you're not getting the acoustic sound of the acoustic bass. You're getting the pickup sound. And that's got nothing to do with an acoustic bass. And pickups generally don't sound that great compared to the acoustic sound of it. On the other hand, with the electric upright, it's created to only get its sound from internally, not from the acoustic sound. So that means, especially with this bass, there's a model in there that gives you the emulation of the acoustic chamber on the acoustic sound, on the acoustic bass. So when I play this, no matter how loud it is on stage, I will still get what sounds like an acoustic bass. So in my book, since I play in a lot of situations where it's too loud to use a microphone or bass, this will sound more like the acoustic bass, more time on stage than the acoustic will, because on stage, the acoustic, you will rely on the pickup.
And the acoustic sounds incredible, but the recorded sound of that bass, I mean, everyone will have just heard that. It is absolutely awesome. And it's light years ahead of where we started on the electrical pipe journey. And I mean, you've been with Yamaha. This is obviously a Yamaha silent bass.
Right, yeah.
It's an SLB300-Pro?
Yeah, 300-Pro, right.
And you've been with Yamaha right from day one, is that right?
Since the 90s.
So you're an endorsing artist, you're a Yamaha artist.
Yeah.
And tell us about your journey with them, and I mean how the bass has evolved and what the features are of this beautiful instrument that make it sound so good in this recorded setting. And also, just in case anyone's not sure, it's not coming through the amplifier, it's not coming through the microphone, it's just a single line out into a DI, is that right?
Exactly. There's nothing, it's straight into the board.
So that's what people have heard today.
Yep.
And sorry, back to the question, your relationship with Yamaha. You've been an artist for many years?
For many, many years I've been with Yamaha. It started out as I was endorsing their electric basses, and then in the late 90s, they approached me to see if I wanted to collaborate on a new bass. And at that time, I was getting more and more frustrated when I was playing the acoustic bass live that I couldn't get the acoustic sound. And when I heard live recordings, or I heard my bass through an amp, it was always like underwhelming. So I already was starting to see with the electro upright what was out there, and every single electro upright out there either didn't feel like an acoustic bass, and the sound sounded awful. So there was nothing to do there. But my relationship with Yamaha, as it started early, I knew everybody there are musicians, so they're really keen to working with musicians, and they understand the musical aspect of it. So, we started collaborating, and they really listen to what you need. And as an acoustic player, you need the instrument to feel like an acoustic. Like, I don't want to learn another instrument to play another. Like when I play electric bass guitar, that's another instrument. And I don't want to have a third instrument I have to learn to play. I want to just close my eyes and just be at home. And so that was number one priority. And then obviously the sound too. We worked in Yamaha, kept developing, kept pushing to get the real sound. So the sound and feel, my collaboration with them, they listen, and I can truly say this rendition of the bass, it's never been better.
Yeah, and there's some incredible artists that play this instrument. Another endorsing artist, of course, legendary bass player Nathan East.
Exactly.
And if he's out there with Clapton, and you're out there with Randy Brecker or Mike Stern or whoever playing these instruments, they're obviously playing on big stages to big audiences and giving you that consistency that you want.
Absolutely.
And in terms of the instrument itself, so this Yamaha SLB300-Pro, can you tell us about the latest generation of the electronics? Because the recorded sound is just I think it's so much better than the original versions that came out.
Absolutely.
They've evolved and they've kept working on it. So what makes it different with this version?
Well, what makes it different with this version is right here, you have your controls. There's EQ control and volume control, and then you have a blend control. There's a little computer chip in here that adds the model of the acoustic chamber to the sound.
Wow.
And you can blend how much of that you want in. So in other words, how much acoustic bass sound do you want? So
why would you choose more of one or the other? Is it if you're playing live, or if you want more? Is it more direct when it's?
Yeah, if you want, let's say, if you like me, mostly playing upright, with the acoustic sound, I'll put it to full acoustic. But there are situations where you want a little less acoustic sound if you're playing with effects or distortion, as I do sometimes, or if you're in a situation where it needs to be a little more electric than acoustic, then you can blend it. And there's the sound, the modeling sound that comes from recording the acoustic bass with 3 legendary microphones. And you get these 3 different recordings that adds the acoustic sound to your sound. and you get to choose those, and you get out of it as much as you want or as little as you want.
Can we just hear a few more notes to get it fresh in our ears about what this beauty sounds like? It's just...
Or and so on and so forth.
And what about in a more traditional like jazz setting? You've got the melodic side of the playing there, but what about if you're playing a walking bass line of a standard like Alone Together or one of these kind of classics?
Oh yeah, that totally works too.
Yeah? Just a great sound, and you know, it just, I think if you walked into you know, a concert hall or a bar or wherever people are playing, and you heard that from the other side of the room, you'd be hard pressed to think it was.
I would always almost bet my money on it. You know?
Yeah.
And another great thing about this bass, also traveling with it. I mean, anybody that plays the acoustic bass that travels or knows how much of a drag it is.
Yeah.
This packs up, and it's not much larger than an electric bass. So.
Yeah, you can get to places where, and traveling with your own instrument. I mean, you know, it's such a pleasure to be. And the setup is beautiful. Was it that well set up when you got it? Do they come
Actually,
with it?
this setup, I gotta tell you, it's out of the factory box.
Wow,
yeah,
that's awesome.
Yeah.
They're doing great stuff over there.
Yeah.
And what about the challenges of playing electric upright bass? Because one of the things you hear a lot about is some of the models, some of the instruments out there can be a little bit shaky and not quite as robust and strong. Sometimes you have challenges with balance, and there's no reference points, you know, when you get just a pure stick bass.
Right.
Like, you know, is there anything that you think people need to be kind of paying attention to when they're learning electric upright bass that might be different from regular bass?
Well, I mean, my experience, I've tried a bunch of them, and I know I'm biased because I've been working with Yamaha for so many years on this. With this bass, so in terms of electric upright, what my experience with this bass is, the feel of this, everything that I touch on this bass is exactly the same as my acoustic. I mean, I can pick up my acoustic and I feel right at home. I've tried other electric uprights where it's like you got to use, there's no shoulder on, or all of a sudden the balance is off. Even the balance here is totally like the acoustic bass. You can see the end pin is kind of angled on there to find the sweet spots that it mimics the acoustic bass. It's so close in feel that it's actually mind-boggling sometimes. A couple of other good points of this is, like, when you have an acoustic bass, it takes time to develop your sound and find the right pickup, find the right microphone, and what spacing do you want with the strings and all. This, as I said, this is straight out of the factory box. So you can get up and running and have a sound and get going really quick.
And a lot of players use amps like Markbass.
Right.
And you just plug straight in there and...
You're good to go.
Yeah. And
I mean, I keep everything in neutral.
So talk to us about the rest of your gear. So are you a Markbass artist? Are you using their gear? So
yeah, I've been using Markbass for a while.
Do you know the model of that? Because it's so light, that speaker cabinet.
Their new line
the
is
combo.
unbelievable. Yeah, it's like, it's laughable.
Weighs nothing. It's like, whoa. And what model is it, or what speaker size? And do you remember?
That's a 15, I believe. No, it's a 12. Sorry, it's a 12, and it's the 58R is the model number, and they're really cool. That the setting, the amp in there, they have a neutral setting. They have a pure, like a setting where it goes straight through, and a mid scoop if you want to do like some electric playing on there.
Cool.
And it's got a DI, so I really enjoy those amps. And also, like, when you tour and can't bring your amp, there's always, it's easy to get everywhere. So I really enjoy working with them. They're also musicians, so I like working with musicians. They know where you're at.
And in terms of beautiful instruments, the one behind you as well, this is a Fly-Auray bass by Yamaha, and that is a really cool instrument that you're playing right there. Are you happy with it?
It's a like foldable bass.
Wow.
Inflatable bass.
And it sounds so good that you've chosen to use it in the studio all week while we've been filming, you know? It's a credit to his making.
Yeah. I mean, the thing is, like, when you're a touring musician, you know, after a while it gets, like, the smaller and lighter you can do your equipment, the better.
Yeah,
you know?
Absolutely. And in terms of strings, I see that you're rocking a different set. You've got the Helicore hybrids, are they? Or?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's the Darios on there.
Yeah, Darios.
And I'm not even sure what they are because those are just the strings that came with it.
Some kind of Helicore set, I think. And and then in terms of the Yamaha, I noticed you've got a cool combination there.
Yeah, that's like my standard acoustic bass setup. I got the regular spiral chords on E, A, and D, and then I use a dominant on G.
That's a nice combination.
Yeah, because like when I play the acoustic, I often play also a lot of melody, and it's more in a quiet situation, so I want everything to sing a little more.
Yeah,
and I get that from that saturation.
That's fantastic, Chris. And we're not quite sure whether this will come out before or after your upcoming release, but I'm just thinking to wrap things up, where can people go and hear you play? You've got a new record coming out.
Yeah, it's coming out pretty soon.
Yeah, and is it going to be a kind of funky one, or is it?
Yes.
Cool.
I've been doing my new Nordic jazz thing for a while, which is acoustic and all that, but it's time to like get my old band, the Nomads, going. So it's a funky thing.
Cool. Well, we'll provide our links, and if that record is out now, you'll be able to check it out. And if it's in the pipeline, then, you know, we'll make sure that people are aware of that. And where can people find you online? Your website is?
The website is doky.com.
Cool.
And Instagram, Facebook, it's just Chris Minh Doky.
Cool. Well, Chris, it's been such a pleasure hearing you play, hearing you teach. You know, if you're a fan of Chris's music at home and you want to hear his approach to playing funk bass lines, please check out our course. Hopefully it should be out around about now, and we'll be able to provide some links that you can go and learn about that. So on behalf of everyone here, Chris, everyone watching at home, thanks so much for coming and sharing the funk with us today. It's been
Thank you
such
so
a
much.
joy
It's been a pleasure, really.
Thank you, man.